Alrighty, here we go again. The video cut off on me when I was talking about life being too short, and I never did get to finish. What I was going to say there is, look at Rocky. He doesn't take himself too seriously, He probably laughs at us for being the way we are. But anyway, here's the thing about all this business with a comment that was a joke and made by somebody on my channel, and how I'm now apparently considered to have done wrong by another subscriber because I didn't admonish that person who made the comment. And the reason I didn't admonish her is because I understand that the comment was made in good fun, it was made in good humor. It wasn't a hateful comment. Really, it wasn't a comment directed at Jewish people advocating that they be harmed, or or ridiculing them, or holding them up saying, hey, let's all make fun of the Jews or whatever. That wasn't the case at all. What it was is it was a joke. That's all. It was a joke. And as I said in the previous video that got cut off before I finished it there, I experienced a certain amount of discrimination when I was young because I was Catholic. And in those days, if you were a Catholic, you had to deal with that. You were going to get some of that. And we weren't very highly thought of by certain segments of society as Catholics. We really weren't. And we were separated to a large degree from the rest of society because of that. And, like I say, in the previous video, I talked about how one of my grandfathers disowned me because I was Catholic. I talked about how I had to literally fist fight my way down the street at times because I was Catholic. All that stuff came from a malicious place. It came from a place of hatred. A comment about Jewish people being stingy as opposed to a harp being stringy or whatever, that's nothing. That's nothing. I've taken a fist to the face. I had a tooth knocked out of my head one time when I was a kid by a Protestant child who was beating on me because I was Catholic. That's how it was. I experienced that. That Protestant child, like I say, we were kids. I'm not gonna, look, he probably heard stuff from his parents or whatever, who knows. In my case, in my household, my parents didn't really care about religion. I think my mom was more or less an atheist at that time. And my father, well, he was mad at God because he had been molested by a Catholic priest when he was a little boy. And that issue had never been dealt with properly. And he never did see any real justice or anything. He was never even really believed. And so he had all that to contend with. I didn't know about that till after he passed away, but what an awful thing, And that was a problem, too, within the Catholic Church. I know it was. And that's not to say that they were all like that, but there were some who were, and they operated with impunity in the old days. That wasn't right. My dad shouldn't have been put through that, neither should anybody else have been put through it. I don't condone that. But like I say, one thing I've learned, having gone through all that, and I've also gone through other things. There's stuff I don't talk about. There's stuff that I haven't even told my closest family and friends that I've experienced and that I've seen, that I've heard. For some reason with me, I find that sounds resonate more than the visual. I'm more auditory for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe because my eyes are bad or something. I don't know. I have trouble to see, so maybe that's why. But it's how I am anyway. And I have sounds in my head that, I wouldn't wish on anybody. I've heard things happen, and those sounds, they stay with me. When I was locked up in 1983 in a reformatory when I was 14 and 15 years old, because I was labeled incorrigible because the social worker didn't want to do her job, didn't like teenagers, and under the old Juvenile Delinquents Act, anybody in authority could label you incorrigible and have you sent to jail if you were under 16 in this country. That's how it was. The Juvenile Delinquents Act dated back to the Victorian era. It was the Juvenile Delinquents Act of 1862. Well, in 1862, they were still hanging street urchins for stealing apples. So, it was pretty severe law anyway. Not that they were hanging us by that time, but it was still bad, and you had no rights. If you were under 16, you had absolutely no civil rights. You weren't even really regarded as a human being. And we had a girl in there. The girls and the boys were separated for the most part, although occasionally we were brought together in common areas and stuff. So we did associate with each other some. But we had a girl that had escaped. And she made it as far as Toronto. It was in Kingston where we were. She made it as far as Toronto, which was quite an accomplishment, really. That's a long ways, especially when you're on foot and you're on the run. She got caught shoplifting a hairbrush out of the Eaton Centre. They brought her back at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and they raped her with a plunger handle. And I got woke up in the middle of the night to that. And that sound, played over and over in my head for years. I can still hear it when I think about it. And, I used to wake up with that sound in my head. I had nightmares for years after I got out of there. I saw evil. I saw hatred. I saw things happen that it'd make you sick to your stomach. There's stories that I've tried to tell other people, and the people can't stand to hear it. They ask me to stop because they just can't handle it. Things that I lived through. So, look, life is hard. It is. It's hard for everybody. And everybody has stories like that. Everybody has things that they just don't talk about, either because they can't talk about them without falling apart, or because they don't want to disturb other people with their trauma. Because they figure, well, the other guy's got his own stuff he's dealing with. He doesn't need my stuff on top of it. And so the stuff I talk about, as bad as some of it is, it just scratches the surface, really. There's far more there. And, the thing is, though, what people need to understand is that there's a difference between maliciousness and evil and hatred and a friggin' joke. Just a stupid joke, a one-liner or whatever. Really, if we can't laugh at ourselves and we can't laugh at each other, then we can't laugh with each other. And if we can't laugh with each other, well, then we're enemies. And if we're enemies, if everybody's an enemy to everyone else, then we're going to have a world where everybody's at odds with everybody else all the time. And that is hatred. So the very thing that the people who take it too seriously are talking about and trying to stifle, the way that they're going about it is actually going to promote that thing, because it's going to promote misunderstanding. It's going to promote distrust and disharmony and hatred. And they'll do this despite themselves. These people, they don't understand. They're promoting this stuff despite themselves. Anyway, I never took anything bad from the comment that was made. It was just a comment. It was supposed to be funny. It was kind of funny. I chuckled a bit when I read it. I didn't think that this person was advocating for hatred against a group of people. I didn't think she was, making fun of people in a bad way. I mean, look, when I was young, guys used to tease each other all the time. I remember at school there was this one fella, we were walking along there, we were going from the back field to the gym. This was in high school. We did into the school. It was during gym class. We'd been playing ball in the back field, and we were heading in. And this one guy kind of targeted me, started making all kinds of jokes about me, and accused me of being homosexual and all that. Did it in a joking way, and guys would do that. Guys would tease you, yeah, you're gay, you're a fag, and all that. And I remember I was walking along there, and he was saying all this stuff to me, and I just looked at him, and I said, I don't know about that, John. I said, I've heard stories. I've heard stories about you. I heard that you play a pretty mean tune on the old meat whistle. Everybody just started laughing, and we all had a great laugh. Well, we were all friends. It didn't mean anything. Nowadays, people would go to jail. I'd probably go to jail for saying that. And he'd probably go to jail for the things he said to me. And, at the very least, we'd be expelled from school. There was nothing. We were friends. We actually thought very highly of each other. But this is just the thing. Young lads would rib each other that way, You kind of implied that the other guy wasn't all the man he could be or whatever, or should be, or that he was, maybe a bit of a deviant or whatever, And I mean, you'd joke about people's sisters, and you'd joke about all kinds of stuff. Oh, yeah, your sister would do it, or, and stuff. I mean, I look back at that stuff now. That was all just a bunch of good-natured ribbing. We understood that. We didn't take it seriously. No, there was always understood. There was a line you didn't cross. And if you crossed that line, then there'd be violence. If you crossed that line with me, I'd bring violence to you. If I crossed that line with you, you'd bring violence to me. And everybody understood that. And so we knew how far to take it. But I mean, we said things now that I'm sure would have gotten us all expired and jailed and everything else, We called each other retards and rejects and queers and all kinds of stuff. And we didn't mean a word of it. We really didn't, We were just having some good fun with each other. That's all it was. And, and look, at that same time, I was working in a wire factory 4 to midnight because I had a hard life. I was on my own. And there were guys in there talking about going to Ottawa, and they were gonna hunt. What they said, they're gonna go queer hunting. They were looking to go up there and beat up homosexuals. And I spoke up. I said, what would you want to do? Because see, that was evil. That was hatred. That was vile. It was disgusting. It was evil. And I would say, why would you want to do that? That's just stupid. And then I got targeted a bit too, because they said, well, maybe you're one of them. You seem to think highly of them. Maybe you're one of them. And I said, well, really, I don't have any opinion either way as far as what they are or who they are. I just think it's stupid to go up there and bother these people. They're not bothering you. Why would you bother them? Really. Why have so much hatred in your heart that you would go to all that trouble to beat up complete strangers just for being whoever they are? And so, like I say, at school, we'd joke and tease each other, and even in the factory, we'd joke and tease each other about things like that. But when I heard true evil, I recognized it, and I did speak up against it. And I'll do the same now. I just won't speak up against foolishness. I won't speak up against something that I know doesn't come with malicious intent. That's all. Anyway, like I say, much love to you all, I suppose, and, if I offend, I guess, but it is what it is, and I understand that I'm following my conscience and what I'm doing, and I understand that others have to follow theirs, and I uphold them in that, and if their conscience is telling them something different than what my conscience is telling me, then they're going to do different, and that's fine. I understand. Anyway, that's all for now. Bye-bye.